we're back again, the Alpha formation. Of course, it's Liquid Snake. I'm here with Chronic.
What's up?
Muddy.
Hey.
And CK.
How's it going?
Alright, so this time, guys, we're reviewing a game set in the Warhammer 40k universe. It's 4-player, class-based, a co-op game, of course. Players can play from gunner, cycle, melee, tank, anything they want. Players generally meet in a central hub. They interact with NPCs for stories, vendors, crafting. They select their missions, and then they go through the stages, fighting hordes of plague-ridden nerdle enemies, gathering material for crafting. What game are we reviewing? That's right, it's Warhammer 40k Inquisitor. Martyr. I don't know if there are any other games out like that, but this is definitely the only one that meets that exact description that I know of, so you guys can let me know if I am mistaken.
Very mistaken.
Very mistaken. I don't think there's anything else out there, but
no, nothing else. No
nothing
dark
else.
tide, nothing.
And because there is no Dark Tide and because there is no other game like this, there's probably a reason this game is super popular, averaging something like 1,000 to 1,300 players in the last couple of months, and this is, I think,
impressive.
Impressive in some sort of way, whether that's positive
Compared
or
to
negative.
other games.
Sure. So there has been a recent growth in this game. I believe there's some DLC recently released, so the developers are still on there. So if you are interested in getting on this game, developers are still looking into it. But if you're on the fence, we're gonna review this and you're gonna decide whether or not this is for you and your friends. So let's follow on, and I'm gonna start with you, CK. Let's follow on from the concept of this game. It's Warhammer, of course, it's that 40k universe, but what sets this apart, if anything at all?
Well, that's the thing. If you take away the Warhammer setting from this is pretty much a generic top-down action RPG where you go through stages, killing enemies, gathering loot, leveling up. Same general gameplay loop as opposed to many of those other RPG games. So, is the 40k setting enough to set it apart? I think we'll definitely be discussing that right now.
I see. I don't know if the Warhammer 40k universe really sets it apart. Same thing for me. If it was not 40k and playing with you guys, I don't think I would even touch this game or give it a second look. But the concept of it isn't particularly to my liking. It's not something I generally play, but we tend to play a lot of variety of games because other people or our friends are playing it. So we still have two other friends, and I'm gonna go to you, Muddy. Is this up your alley?
Well, the only reason this is up my alley was, as you always say, the Warhammer part. It's just a Diablo-esque game, so if it wasn't for it being Warhammer, I wouldn't have even bothered to buy it, so yeah.
And you, Chronic?
Yeah, pretty much the same thing. Is the fact that it's a Warhammer themed game. Unlike most Warhammer games, it doesn't center around the Space Marines or some type of Space Marine chapter, which is to me the unusual part about it. So you're playing as the Inquisitors, which are a little less impactful in my opinion, but the theme and like the visuals are still pretty much Warhammer 40k. But other than that, yeah, it's a top-down Diablo type game pretty much.
Loot crawler, just going through.
Yeah, grind hordes of enemies, tons of loot, select the best one, move on. Optimization optional.
Okay, so
Yes, for us, not for you.
So this could have been any game. It's certainly the 40k universe. You said we play as Inquisitors. Perhaps they meant to set us apart and not be bogged down by the weight that comes with being a Space Marine game. So they're trying to keep away from that. I don't know if they've done a good job. It's a game, but for the ability to play the game for what it is, as I said, it's a loot crawler, Diablo style, you guys said. Are the controls working? I play on keyboard and mouse and it's fine. It's not terrible, it's not great. Nothing has been revolutionized, and I feel like there are other games, because we've played other games of this style, that are easier to control and easier to know whether what you're doing is actually making a difference. I feel kind of lost sometimes just running forward. I could probably click one button and never pay attention to what's going on. So the controls are okay, not great, not terrible. What about for you, Chronic?
The controls are pretty good. I'm using a controller, the Xbox 360 controller. The only issue I would say is the lack of the ability to remap the controls. So we're pretty much set with what the game gives us. And for a lot of the abilities, especially for the Psyker, I would like to switch some buttons around to make it a little more intuitive for myself. But I'm unable to do that as far as I know. I checked all the settings, but that's the only issue with controls itself for me. Other than that, everything else works pretty well. I'm controlling the camera, I'm controlling the characters using the abilities. Just being able to remap would have been good.
Okay, and for you, Muddy?
Well, I also use controls, and overall it is fine, but there's an issue with it where I would prefer if they had the option to use control and the keyboard mouse at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a lot tougher to see what buffs you have on when you're using the control. I believe there may be a way to press start and check to see what buffs you have, but if you could use the mouse also, you can just hover over the buff you have and you can see what you get from it.
Right.
So
having to press start
nothing
takes you out of the game a little bit.
Yes, it does. So
As you
controls are
mentioned,
just fine.
some of the menus as well are difficult to maneuver, especially
Navigate through,
setting
yes.
meal. Yes,
Oh my goodness.
It would be easier to use the keyboard, and them locking you into being locked into either keyboard or mouse. Yeah, it is very tedious to do some things. You're right.
Yes,
So-
that's it there. Yeah.
CK, I know you use keyboard and mouse. Are you having the same issues generated from the control aspect?
I remember what these guys are talking about. I had a very pleasant time.
Lucky you.
But it's like, as I say, this is a general, you say, cookie cutter style from these types of games. Like, they're not reinventing the wheel, straightforward control settings. You control your skills with a keyboard, move with your mouse, pick up loot, and so no real issues there.
So, okay. So while generally the controls haven't reinvented the wheel, you don't have too much opportunity to set yourself apart there. You do have the opportunity to change your art style, change your graphics, change the look of your game to hopefully set yourself apart from other loot crawlers or other 40k games. And I'll start with you, Muddy. What about the art style or graphics? What is your opinion on that?
The art style and graphics in this game again is just mediocre in my opinion. So like even customizing your character, the color scheme, it's not bright to me, it's not bright enough to really notice how much change you've put into your suit and your weapons. So I'm a little disappointed in that.
Okay.
But otherwise the graphics, well, that's about it. The game has nothing that really makes me be like, wow. And well, we'll talk about it later, but also we had incidents before with the multiplayer. So we only recently came back to the game, and I believe because of the disappointing start we had to it, the game will not be getting the best of praises.
Okay, we will get to that overall rating of the game, but the art style, the graphics for you, CK, I know you've had the opportunity to play on multiple machines, we could call it,
I
with
would say
different different
Settings.
powers, yeah, different settings.
different settings.
And how was it for you overall?
I would say that graphics wise, there was nothing. It was fine for a game. Nothing. Maybe there's no point here. Me go wow. But one thing I would say that it did kind of well was in some stages and aspects of it, it did capture the aesthetics of the 40K universe. So that in terms of that when you go in like in a hive city, it's like it looks like a hive city. When you go in a one of the ships, cruisers, whatever one is, it looks like a monastery in space. The Gothic aesthetics is there. So I would say with the art style, it does capture what you would read off and hear from the tabletop Warhammer games and in the novels and go behind it. So it does capture that. And in terms of when you do variety of enemies, it's like when you're fighting against enemies, I'd say I recognize enemies like there's an Elder, that's a Wraith Lord. I recognize those units from playing games and reading other books and on it. So I would say in terms of the world environment and the art style of it, I would say it does capture it relatively well. I just wish it had more variety in it, more enemy types, more visuals, styles. But in terms of generalized graphics, passable, nothing overly impressive about it.
Okay. We'll come to you next, Chronic. Graphics and art style.
Yeah. I agree with the fact that it does fit the grimy Warhammer 40K universe theme. So you know what, Warhammer is not the happiest of existences. So everything about it is dirty and grimy, and that's pretty much this game.
I'm pretty sure they have birthday parties weekly, so I'm not sure what the griminess you're talking about is.
Well, up till now, I have not been invited to a single birthday party.
Well,
and
that might just be you.
That's a you problem.
Yeah, I'm upset knowing I have birthday parties going on and I have not been invited.
You're not tight with the Emperor, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think I've been carrying his will as my torch. But besides that, there are some graphical glitches that you notice during the game. Some artifacting, some the materials would like stretch and tear. Some of the stages, the colors.
Snow stage.
Yeah,
Yes.
the snow stage, the color kind of obscures your vision of a lot of the terrain. So sometimes you're unable to tell which part of the terrain you're able to walk on, as opposed to like invisible walls. So sometimes a part seems clear and you just walk straight and you hit a wall, but you have not reached the boundaries of the stage. So some improvements could be done.
Well, could have been done.
The level design and I think it's just the color. Probably the color scheme or something could change to differentiate movable terrain from just visual props and stuff like that.
I completely understand, and I second your issue with some of the graphics ripping and tearing, and that random line that follows you around sometimes. I suppose it's meant for the developer or the game engine to center your character on the screen, but it's visible, which it shouldn't be, and that's in contrast, for me at least, to the damage that you see. There's no damage meter, 1, but 2, we see everyone else's damage. That just provides a wealth of numbers on the screen that isn't really helpful. It just kind of distracts from what you're doing, as well as sometimes on other people casting. I know, Joe, you play with the Psyker, and sometimes when you cast some of your fire spells, it just makes it impossible to see anything. It's okay for me. I'm playing with a mouse. I just right click in a direction, and when I bounce up to something, I'll start hitting it. but for someone who may have to aim or who may be interested in seeing the art and seeing how things work, that column of fire that just engulfs the whole screen, maybe it's beautiful, but I can't see anything.
Maybe that's the fire in all Warhammer games seems to be the issue, because I believe in Space Hulk, you all also had the issue with me when I was using the flamethrower.
Couldn't see my
Yeah.
screen.
Yeah, so
See anything.
fire seems to be a problem in the Warhammer
It goes
universe.
against the dark gritty style, I guess.
That means just not using enough fire.
They do provide the tactical view, allows you to switch
True.
on,
True.
toggle
Correct.
on and off certain options.
Right,
So
but
like
not the options I
enemy hit
wanted to see.
numbers. Exactly. So it does not allow you to remove everyone else's damage numbers and status and leave your own, so you could actually see how much damage that you're doing. There is a thermal vision that allows you to see enemies, but I think it just enables it for all units, so you even see your allies, which is sometimes confusing
Mm,
because you can't really tell the difference between ally and enemy with the thermal vision.
right.
Okay, yeah.
So that's the controls, that's the concept, that's the art style. I have 50-ish hours in this game, and I know you guys have a few more hours, maybe 10 more hours each.
If so much.
It will take.
But in terms of then the replay value of this game, is there any there? We're currently on a seasonal run. After the season has finished, does anyone want to switch characters and go again?
Well, I actually would like to, because, as I said, due to the rough start we had 2 years ago, I believe, is when we first started playing this. The question for all you though is the whole now starting it back.
I mean, like
The
restarting.
thing, like, how we restart playing the game here now. You didn't think the past really affect how we think about the game now? Or
I would say-
how we're going
Right.
to judge it
So
technically?
we did
Yeah,
come
of
in with a
course.
negative mindset, right?
Yeah, we
You want to
Mhm.
imagine.
came in expecting it to be Tata.
Yeah.
But it kind of redeem itself a little bit.
Mhm.
No, it's
Yeah,
not the,
because
I don't think
we-
it's the worst ever. It was
No.
the worst ever before, but it's still
No,
it's
yeah,
still pretty
the game.
bad, but it's not
It's not,
unplayable
yeah,
anymore.
it's not the
Mhm.
best, but it playable. That's the thing. Right now, it's at least
Yeah.
playable. We could jump in stages, we get items, we finish the stage, but it have some like questionable things happening. We don't know a lot
Mhm.
of stuff still. What the hell is supreme damage?
That I was now thinking, boy, what is supreme
And
crits, boy?
that is partly the issue, because it have the, for us now, I say, if I did really like the game from the start, right, I would actually go through that extra mile and check certain things now. But how we jump in, how much ever weeks ago, it was just more like, okay, let's get this over with, let's see if it's working or not. Like, oh, it's working, but I still had reservations and if the game was going to
Yeah.
be good.
And,
So only
Yeah.
now, I actually now get the vibe as I was telling CK last night. I think I could really start our next character now. Because I
Yeah,
know
I-
getting accustomed to the game, I was like,
yeah,
okay.
I
I
understand.
open up. I was like, I was hurt once by the girlfriend. Like, you hurt me, no? So I'm not too sure. I breaks in if I want to actually open up. And now it's like, okay,
Man, yeah. We could go again. Because for me, it's just being able to play a different character.
Mhm.
Because like the characters seem very different.
Mhm.
Yeah, your style
Yeah.
to what me and Chris
Yeah.
with.
No,
Because
but
like,
I
I have
have ranged as well, right? But
Mm-hmm.
I think last time we played, I was playing range and it was boring. So I said, alright, let me go the melee route this time. But we
you died.
didn't really get far enough into
Nope.
the range for me to say, yeah, boy, this range real good. And I also, I think it was CK or Kyle, or I can't remember who mentioned, the characters probably built for single player. So it has aspects of this game like taking cover and that sort of stuff that if you're playing
Yeah.
single player ranged, it's probably important to be taking cover. If you are playing the assassin, it's important to be manually dodging, which I have completely removed from the game for me. I was like, I'm not doing this manual dodge. I'm just going to take this perk that gives me plus 15% supreme dodge, end of story. So yeah, we kind of haven't given this game the ability to impress us because it's already the second round of it.
I think it's about time we discuss the Alconti room. People are going to.
Yes.
I think it's the time we discuss we bought that because we bought this game a year or two ago. We played it, and we did not enjoy this game at all. Reason being that, as you said, we grouped together, we were playing, we'd complete a stage, we'd take back to base, and our inventory would be empty.
Right.
It was a known error in the game, but developers acknowledged, and many players acknowledged it, that you play a game and just lose loot. A game that is based on the loot and the loot gameplay cycle,
It's a loot
not giving you
crawler.
loot, wasn't fun at all.
Loot crawler,
Exactly.
no loot. Go to bed. And
We
that's
dropped that game for that.
so you get a lot of loot. That 99% of the loot isn't helpful from the time you reach maybe level 50, level 55. Most of the loot that you get at that point isn't going to push your margin, and then if you may have gotten something, losing it due to that bug is infuriating, to put it politely. And then further, even though that bug more or less seems to have been fixed, in the last couple of weeks we've still gotten a lot of connectivity issues with lag spikes, with random server disconnects, which fortunately doesn't ruin your run and take your time, but it definitely
adding up.
removes from any potential enjoyment that you may have in the game. For me, connectivity is a big thing for me, especially your online co-op game. Connectivity is core, right? So that kind of bothered me, and I know Kyle, you may have some stuff to add as well.
Yeah, so well, in this case, the loot problem, the bug was actually only for the multiplayer. So if you want to play the game solo, you would be fine. And it seemed like the game was meant to be played solo at first, because it took so much years for them to actually fix the loot bug. And well, now that is fixed, due to the other bugs with the random latency issues we having and the dropping from games, it's not helping this game at the moment. But I still, maybe because it is a Warhammer game, a top-down Warhammer game, that I still kind of want to give it another try. And try learn new characters. Well, try different classes.
Just to try the different classes, another class, maybe one or two classes, and well, because you're playing it as a multiplayer game, those are the only reasons really. The game itself, unfortunately, isn't that amazing, but you know how it is. Once you're playing with friends,
Yes.
even a mediocre game could be, very entertaining.
Shout out to Jedi Power Battles.
Alright. So we have covered the majority of aspects of what we generally like to cover in our reviews of the game from a co-op perspective. So we're going to very quickly do the pros and cons, and whether or not you would get this game or recommend people get this game. I'm starting with you, Muddy. Pros, cons, and whether or not you like it.
Pros, it's a multiplayer co-op game. 4 people. Once you have 3 other friends, you're good to go.
What if I have 4 friends?
Well, when I'm on PC, you can bring in another friend. What can I say? So that is one of the main pros. What other pros? Well, it's Warhammer 40k.
Right.
That's second pro for me. And the cons, though, is the little connectivity issues we have in right now. Hopefully they will sort that out soon. The control scheme where you can't really map your controls to your liking. Oh, and one other con, for me at least, I believe with the new DLCs, I think in order to play story missions with the older classes, you have to actually reach a certain point with the new DLC characters. Now, I don't know if you go seasonal, people don't bother to play story mode, I guess. Because I don't think you need to play the story mode for seasonal. You can play any missions and just get up as much as you want. So we haven't beaten the game yet, so we'll be able to check that soon enough, I guess.
I like how you say yet. Okay. CK. Pros, cons.
Pros, cons. So I think, well, we're all fans of the 40k universe, so that was the biggest pro for me. One con I have the game is like when you're playing with friends, I think we've had this problem before in this type of game, where is that one player, their class, their build might spec, but become so overpowered that they just killing all the enemies, and you're just
Wow.
there just running around doing nothing.
Make your class feel inferior, yes.
It's like
I'm not sure what my
I'm sure
class is good at.
I feel
I'm sure like a
targeted.
single player environment, my class would do well, but when I'm
Right.
playing it with multiplayer, it just feels lacking
When
compared to
there's
other classes.
a direct comparison, you realize actually this isn't any good.
It's not, or this
Yes.
isn't as good as another class.
All
And in
right.
line with that to say that
Targeted.
visually, there's a lot of like during combat, multiplayer combat, there's a lot of noise. In terms of, as we see before, my screen is filled with fire.
Mhm.
I can't see or do anything. I'm just standing there saying, all right, so I'll just sit here and wait for the fire to kill everything. And I'll just shoot blindly into something, hope I hit something. It's like, is that really a fun experience for people? Playing with friends, sure, but are you really having fun? To be determined. But in terms of like the game, I would say the game for what it is, a Diablo style game, based on it tries to be unique and special. To me, it doesn't do enough. I would give like a 6 out of 10, but because it's like setting for the universe, it bumps up me personally.
Mm.
But it's not really enough play to stand out compared to other games in a similar genre or 40k franchise.
So, should we buy it on a sale? That's what
Definitely
I
buy
would
it on sale.
recommend.
Buy it on sale.
All right. Chronic, you still get the opportunity to respond to these allegations of you making the game unfun for everybody else.
Inferiority complex, yes,
Pros
yes.
I
and
don't know.
cons. Let me hear
Yeah,
them.
I'm not sure what the problem is. Big pros of this game, as they said before, it's a co-op game, Warhammer. If you have friends, very good. The game does have some decent customization. It's true to the Warhammer 40k. And the cons, another pro for me is fire. There's fire everywhere.
Of course, of
Yeah, I
course.
just make and just fill the entire screen with fire and just like let everything die. I really don't see the problem with that because I mean if the goal is to kill everything and I kill everything I don't understand the issue.
One man's treasure is everyone else's trash. Cool.
Okay. This might just be everyone
but the-
else's trash, but go ahead. Everyone's trash. We're still listening to your pros and
The
cons.
cons for me, I think Muddy already mentioned some control issues. You can't remap some of the customization, although the game has decent customization. For me personally, with this cycle, it would have been less annoying if I could more freely use some of the non-cycle weapons like swords and guns. They're severely limited in how they can use it. Some are only offhand. You can't dual wield them. So even if they wouldn't be the most effective, it would be pretty cool if you could, just for variety's sake.
Mm.
And as you mentioned before, there's not always a clear indication about what is happening during combat. So sometimes, I know Liquid could attest to this on many occasions, you will die just instantly and you have no idea as to what and how you died. So you don't know how to prepare for it the next time. You don't know which enemy, you don't know whether it's a environmental hazard. That is
Or a
one
certain
thing that
type
could
of damage,
definitely-
yeah.
or a certain type of damage you got, and that's something that could can upset your experience if you're trying to do something and you just keep suddenly dying and you have no way to prepare yourself.
The game
for
was
it
trying to be
happening.
realistic.
Don't
If
play
you
these
jump
fiction
into a
characters.
crowd of enemies and you die, would you know how you died?
Yeah.
crowd
Life?
a crowd of inflamed enemies.
Exactly.
Well, I understand what you're saying, and you're batting for the developers here. But if I jump into a crowd of enemies 762 times and I come out unscathed, and the 763rd time I die instantly, and the 764th time I come out unscathed, and I have no idea why I died instantly, I don't think you really.
Well, statistically speaking, it sounds like survival is in your favor, So.
700 is a greatly inflated amount. I think that might be the amount of times I die per mission. So let me get into my pros and cons then. Pros, Warhammer 40k Pro, just another game to play with the boys. This game is all the cons for me. Instant death, no idea why. There's so much to do in this game, and for me it's too much to do in the game. There's a huge section of reading, which I don't mind, but I've read it and I haven't learned anything, and I still
Reading is the worst.
know. I still don't have the question that I'm asking answered. And for me, if to enjoy a game or to play a game to its fullest potential, I need to leave that game to find out how things work. For me, that's not a good game. A game should be self-contained. A game doesn't have to be self-explanatory, but the explanation should be in the game. So overall, a looting game where I'm not sure what my loot does, a looting game where I'm not sure why one build works and one build doesn't, a game where I'm not sure, depending on how the game engine feels at any given time, whether I'm going to be disconnected, whether I'm going to fall and not have any of my items left. That's not a top game for me. There is a lot of voice acting and a lot of story in this game, so huge con if you're into voice acting and stories. Some of it gets quite repetitive though. So
The guardsman.
the guardsmen are definitely
They take it like
toxic
men.
masculinity going on there. Borderline actionable. But for me, this game has unfortunately more cons than pros, and if it wasn't 40k, I would have told you all leave me out a long time ago. So with that being said, and I'm starting with you, Chronic, we need to know, or the viewers need to know, the listeners need to know whether to buy this game or not, whether it is Alpha Formation approved.
As Muddy said, on sale with friends.
On sale
Besides
with
that,
friends.
Yeah, if you don't have friends to play this game with, and if it's not on sale for at least 80% off, 10 out of 10 would not recommend.
Because I'm watching the package here, right? The full package for this game is 80 USD.
Oh my goodness. Well, that's the full package. That's two DLCs, I believe, right?
It says it includes 21 items. I don't know where they got those 21 items from, but it includes 21 items. Muddy, buy, don't buy.
Yes, as we said before, when it's on sale and if you have friends to play with, you can buy it. Because you can enjoy anything with friends, honestly speaking. So, yeah.
Yeah, if you have good friends. And for you, CK, do you have good friends?
I'd like to think so.
But then would you buy this game?
With friends, yes. Without friends, no.
Okay, so for me, if you are into looters, loot crawlers, and you are into 40k, and you have a friend or 4 friends, one of which is willing to buy the game for you, then play it. Otherwise, this is avoid this for me. There are some bugs, and I know, Muddy, you have some high hopes for it, but I'm just looking here. This game was released when the 5th year of this game's release, right? If those bugs still exist in year 5, they may not be affecting enough people, or there may not be enough people playing to be worth fixing those bugs, in which case,
Or they don't know how to fix it.
well, I don't believe so. I would just believe it's not priority enough. Fixing bugs doesn't bring in new money, so like I wouldn't buy it at this stage. So everyone has their opinion, everyone has their 2 cents. So that brings us almost to the end of our review. This is our second review, I think, which means this game has the dubious honor of being number 2 on the co-op listing. is number 2, which is a great honor, but it's 2 of 2. So take that with a grain of salt. So until next time, I have been Liquid Snake, and I'm joined with CK, who is waiting to say bye.
Later.
All right, Muddy,
Yep, latest people.
and of course Chronic.
South.
What?
Peace out.
Oh, peace. I just heard salt. I was like, oh. All
Going
right.
south.
I was
Moving
very
out.
promoted as well.
You
Peace
can-
out, yo.
Peace out. Peace out. All right. Peace out, guys. Bye.